Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the cast and creative team from 30 Rock and your moderator for the evening, Brian Williams.
To the episode, and it's my temptation here is to avoid the James Liptoning of any of these questions. Oh, it's so benign, really. It was affectionate as well. Who was the influence for Carrie Fisher's role, the returning writer from the great comedy show of the late 60s?
Well, in some ways, I've certainly had the privilege of meeting people who worked, including Lauren, people who worked on all these great comedy shows in the 60s, but I would say the inspiration for the character is mostly my paranoia of what will become of me when this program ends.
So no guest writers have come telling of something that was howlingly funny in 1968, the mailbox sketch that just killed.
No, actually, all the people I've met through the years are, no, they're not.
They're all funny.
They're funny.
Still.
Yeah.
So this is you embracing your worst fear.
Yes. Yes, this is me 6 months from now.
Lauren, of everything attached to your name, all the credits currently, everything you've done, where does 30 Rock fit?
Up right now, right at the top.
Here tonight.
Yeah, here tonight. No, I think the show is fantastic, and I think that we were so surprised when it won the Emmy this year. I mean, because we'd gone all night not winning the Emmy, and then I think we were just flabbergasted, and it was an incredibly nice moment for us.
Alec Baldwin, same question to you. After all you've accomplished in your career, from gotta throw in Tony Bennett, classic, to Glengarry Glen Ross, the favorite scene of so many people in here, this gives you something else entirely.
I learned from Lauren, and that is to say, this is the greatest day of my life right now, today. Here, with all of you, now. It's the greatest day of my life. I'm so happy to be here with all of you, and thank you. We did the show, you know, TV's tough. It's tough to make it. And we made it, and then we won the Emmy, and it's been a miracle. But I think there's shows that come on that have a certain kind of tone to them, and people just who wouldn't watch TV or who have left TV would come back for that show. The writing is very rich, and they really, really love that. And I can't get over how many people say things to me on the street and in public places every day that they really love the writing on the show. I think it's great.
For how long did you shadow one of our executives before carving out the role for yourself?
Well, I remember when I was doing TV, and there was a bit of that, where the people who, for whatever Peter Principle kind of mentality, moved up into jobs that they weren't really that qualified for. But our character, in my mind, is an amalgam of two people. One is a GE executive, and the other is someone in this room.
Yeah, Tina, that kind of brings us circling back to you. I saw that the character that Alec plays is absolutely intended to be a mirror image of Lauren. Explain.
No, it's not. It's certainly not.
Misquoted?
Yeah, of course. It's not entirely Lauren, but there is an element to it that is truncated in the post, so you don't get the full sense of it, which is that there's certainly a friendship between the two characters that I would like to believe reflects my friendship with Lauren. And there's I think a little bit of a worldview that Jack Donaghy has of like, you should have a great life, and taking his employees and saying like, you should have a great house, and you should rise above what you think you can be. And that actually is the part that I sort of feel comes from Lauren. And then the more corporate aspects are all from sort of corporate biographies that we have tried to read and fallen asleep.
Lauren, have you in fact urged people you've worked with to have a great house?
Yes, I do.
That's one of your
Yeah.
One of your bedrock
Yes,
principles.
exactly. I always say get an apartment that, so that when you come home at night, you go, who lives here? Somebody great must live here. Oh, I live here, because you work really, really hard. Yeah.
I think that when you sometimes in this business you work with people who, and they can't help it, it's totally understandable, they transmit a lot of their tension, movie directors you work with or producers you work with or what have you, people who have important jobs and they call a lot of shots and they transmit their tension. And there's a modest number of people I work with who don't transmit their tension. And when you're around them, it's really kind of a remarkable experience. And this is someone who does not transmit the tension at all. He never loses his cool. He never, I've done that show, you've done the show, the live show on Saturday, and you see that sometimes that's like, it's so bizarre, and they get down to 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I'm looking at him saying, what are you going to do? And he looks at you like, I got plenty of time to think about that. I've got 15 whole minutes to think about that. And you're looking at him like sweat's running down your face, and he's like, don't worry, it's going to be great. And it's really rare in this business to have people who are that calm. It's great. It's a real blessing.
Robert, let's circle back around to you. How many writer's credits on average per episode? How does the process work?
Let's get boring, in other words.
Yeah, but a certain
Yeah.
amount is required of us
Absolutely.
tonight.
Well,
Somebody's BlackBerry's on.
oh God. The process, such as it is kind of unique on this show, if unique can be qualified like that, in that I think it's sort of unprecedented what Tina does on this show as a single camera show, which from a production standpoint requires so much more, that she's also acting on the program, kind of turns the process, such as it is from a writing standpoint, on its head a little bit. But ideally, it's a lot of hours in a room with a lot of pasty, poorly dressed people, and out of that come a lot of ideas that it's a constant process of honing and of writing and of rewriting, and then of handing over to the best cast on television.
In most writers' rooms, bad personal hygiene is also a feature. Is that true?
We insist on it, yeah. We insist on it.
Showering, bathing, banned during the
Showering,
week.
bathing, all of that.
I think our writers are pretty clean.
We do okay. We do all right. This is my only suit.
When you see, he wears it every day. When you see a show that has one person's name in the writing credit, it's been the entire room that's helped break the story, and then one writer takes it away and outlines it and writes the draft, and ultimately the draft comes back to the room and is punched up by the 10 of us.
All this discussion of personal hygiene brings us naturally to Jack.
Of course.
This is a hygiene intervention.
This is very elaborate.
The jewel of the American South. Jack continues to perform Sunday nights at the Upright Citizens Brigade, the best dollar-for-dollar value in entertainment in New York.
It's free.
I think some of them got what I was setting you up for, Jack. That's really, it's okay. Talk about your work prior to the show. A lot of Americans have come to know you for the first time through this show, and yet people in the improv and comedy community have known you for a long, long time. What was your route on the way here? And not tonight, don't get into the B&D train, but go ahead.
Actually, I did study improv for quite a few years. I went through the Second City and the Improv Olympic in Chicago. Second City is where I met Tina Fey and her husband, Jeff Richmond, who is a producer on our show. Jeff was my director at Second City, and I worked there in Chicago in the improv community for about 5 years. And in 2002, I moved to New York and got involved with the improv community here in New York at the Upright Citizens Brigade. Worked with a lot of people at Late Night with Conan O'Brien and a lot of friends from SNL who we would just do comedy together with. And then, I got a small role in Talladega Nights through Adam McKay, who is an SNL and Second City alum. And from that, I was able to get 30 Rock, which Tina Fey, I think, threw me a bone.
I did write the part with Jack in mind.
You did or didn't?
I did.
Oh, I was like, well, then I nailed it. But yes, I have been doing improv for many, many years, but this is my first, like, exposure.
Jane, to you, how far, speaking of the episode we just saw, and this is easy for us to critique now, how far would you have been willing to go down in the engine room when no one else was looking?
Well, I trust in whatever Tina asked me to do will be the funniest thing I could possibly do on TV. So if she needed me to go further, I'd probably do it.
Your career, Jane, right now, compare it to where you thought you'd be at this stage in your life, at this age, given your training and all that you did on your way up.
I don't know. I honestly feel really, really lucky that this is my second television show that I've been on, and I think it's very rare to get on two shows that you are so proud to be a part of because they're very different, they're very special, and that the writing is so good. So I think for me, in this case, I feel like lightning has slightly struck twice in that case, and I've also loved the part that I play and what they give me to do on the show. So. I've also been lucky enough to get on two shows that let me sort of sing and dance and do my other extracurricular activities on national television, which normally there isn't a natural platform for that in most television shows. So the way that they've been able to work it in both has been quite special to me.
What was with NBC buying 30 Rock and Studio 60 at the same time?
Oh, boy, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a network executive, and I hope to never be one because I think it's probably a really hard job. I think they had already bought us, and then there was a very fancy name brand show with a pilot that they liked very much, and they didn't want to risk not having it.
But the second part of this question on the card speaks to your chances at the time. I read your quotes in the press, and I saw you interviewed, and it didn't seem to affect how you felt about your new project going forward. Were you always optimistic that you would proceed on two parallel tracks with the Sorkin show?
Yeah, I felt like the shows really were very different, and we were so consumed with the making of our show that we didn't really have time to think about the other show that much once we were up and working.
Why is your character not a working mother?
It left her a little more open for stories. And also my husband, Jeff, who is a producer on the show, made it very clear that if I made him a character on the show and made jokes about him, that he would kill me.
And he's big and violent, so...
Very frightening man. So I think it just sort of made her a character with more yet to experience and more stories to be had.
How much blowback do you get from General Electric, even if it's that kind of corporate kidding they do? Do you ever have to, does anyone on the staff ever have to run anything by? Is there anything over the line that you have to check with them on before it goes to air?
No. Oddly enough, no. And at the sort of the highest level at GE, I think they were fans of the show from the very beginning. And I think, didn't Imelda ask you to be his, to do that thing?
Yeah. I have a theory that Lorne has a duplicate office and a duplicate staff in another part of the building, and they think that's his office. And so they go down there, and they say, "Where is he?" And they say, "He's not here right now." And they can never find Lorne. They don't even know where his real office is, on the 17th floor, so they can never find him.
My experience is that they viewed it from a place of confidence. I don't think they thought of it as that this is literally true and that these are real characters. And we're not having that. You're not asking who in GE these characters are based on.
I mean, we don't necessarily hate General Electric. They sign the checks, and we really appreciate that. And to that end, we've kind of backed into something that was a joke last year, the idea that NBC is owned by a company called the Scheinhardt Wig Corporation, which we enjoyed as a joke, but has become a little bit of a straw man for GE, just to make it clear we don't mean any harm. If someone's poisoning a river, it's the Scheinhardt Wig Corporation and not General Electric.
Because we always meant for it to be sort of just a generic large corporation.
Yeah. And it's just nicer, you don't want to see those 555 phone numbers in a movie, and it's nice to have the real reference. And that's really the way we like to use it.
I was remiss in not pointing out Tracy has fallen ill and couldn't be with us tonight. So, Tina, we should probably talk about the complicated ball of confusion that is the Tracy Morgan character on the show. Since it came out of your head, try explaining it.
Well, Tracy Morgan plays a character named Tracy Jordan, who was a movie star, one of those people who cranked out 25 high-grossing cheap movies, and then because he sort of went banana cakes, has fallen on hard times, and in the pilot he's reduced to doing television for financial reasons, and then over the series he's found a home at the show.
All the interior scenes, every one of us who work at NBC could swear are the radiator covers, the NBC-issued desks, the elevators, the hallways, all of it shot at Silver Cup?
Yes, all the interior scenes since the pilot are shot at Silver Cup, and we have a brilliant designer named Keith Raywood who designed all the permanent sets, and he's a longtime set designer at Saturday Night Live, so he knows that building inside and out, and they are the same radiator covers and the carpet in the elevator with the peacocks on it, which I know you have in your home.
Absolutely. Alec, I've heard you more than once in addition tonight talk about the speed of television. The speed, the amount they can shoot and get through in a day. Take your soliloquy with Tracy there, that one of the last scenes we saw. Absolutely. How many takes, how long compared to the cut version, the screen time, would something like that take for the folks who are not in the business?
I don't really remember, but I know that the good news is that everybody that does the show, one of the things that goes right is everybody's got a good rhythm as to when we need to keep going and when we don't. Like there's things that we should just do very quickly. You come in the door and you say, what time is it? And just get it over with. And then we save time for the more complicated kind of performance-related things. And if you really feel you have a line, another rule we have is to say everything as written, or at least once, and have a shot at that, or discuss with them if you want to make a change and shoot alternate takes if everybody agrees that it's worthwhile.
Having watched Alec on SNL 14 or 15 times, he works with such incredible precision and discipline so that on a live show it's all that matters, as you know yourself from having done it. It's, get out there, hit that mark, turn to that camera, say these things, come back here, pick that up, it's all, and keep your character and keep the attitude and be aware of the audience and ride that wave. So if you can still hear the audience from whatever your background is when you're doing comedy, it just makes it a lot easier to know when you're going too long.
I just want to add one other thing to what you said before about making, light of GE and so forth, and that is, to me, the greatest tribute to Tina and to the writing and to the show is that we do send them up a bit, and they love it because the show has occupied that rare place where people in the business watch the show. Like, without naming names, there's a lot of hit television that people inside the industry have never seen and probably would never watch. They probably haven't seen one episode of And yet when you do a show that people in the business watch, everything changes, because you'll be in a restaurant and somebody who's prominent in the business will say, even if here's one I get all the time, they'll say, I haven't seen your show, but my daughter tells me it's great. So I think that's one thing GE enjoys, is that the show is very popular within people in the business.
Are you a slave to any of the focus grouping or the writing that's geared toward that? You can just go.
We were very, very lucky in that the network, I think maybe they did one focus group on the pilot, and they've, as far as I know, have not done it since. And I don't know if it's, I think it's a couple things. I think it's because we're physically far away. We're in New York. And I think also because Lorne's experience, I feel like we get a lot of goodwill because they trust Lorne to know how to make good television.
And there wasn't that much at risk. There was a big, important show on this same topic, and I think all the energy went into that. And we were, they were very nice. and supportive and encouraging, but with very, very low expectations. And so when there's low expectations, they don't come by that often, you know, because there's no reputation to be gained.
Tina, love the American Express card ads, as we all do. What advice would you give to a young writer? And this is from a 14-year-old guest of ours tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I would say to go to school and study writing, and I moved to Chicago. I studied theater at the University of Virginia, and then I moved to Chicago and studied improvisation and playwriting. And so I think if you want to be a writer, you should be writing all the time and try to get your writing in front of people. If you want to write scripts, get people to read them out loud. If you want to just try to make people see what you're doing, because that's the only way you know if it's any good.
Well, you know, Tina stepped up in a big way this season because she realized that being number one on the call sheet, being the leading lady in the show, she had to start to dress differently. She had to pop another button. And she did. She stepped up. She knows what the job required. She had to look hot, super hot. And I think that every episode we do, she does look super hot. What do you think? She's not only smart, she's super hot.
To shift the focus, I will say that I feel like I speak for everyone when Alec was talking about how we run our day and how you learn to prioritize, to move quickly through the things that are transitional scenes, less important, to get to the meat of the day and have time when you shoot more important scenes. I feel safe speaking for everyone that we have all learned a tremendous amount about acting and film acting from performing with Alec and watching him work. I mean, he's a brilliant, gifted film actor.
How much room is there for ad-libbing? Suggestions? Let me play it this way. Let me try, you know, it isn't film.
It is on film. Film is expensive, but I feel like we rehearse, and I feel like we're very open to, from the read-through on, too, if people have things that they have questions or concerns about. And the read-through, and also once we get a take of what we need on the page, especially at the tops and tails of scenes, that we try to leave room, and or alternates for jokes, we try to leave some room on the floor.
Where do you want the show to go in the future?
Syndication.
Syndication, because that means college education for your daughter.
Yeah.
And that part of the show is pretty much all about you.
For all of us, really. We all have people we want to put through college, I think.
Yeah.
McBrayer wants to put himself through college someday.
I've heard great things about it.
You know, I feel like I really have a lot of affection for these characters, and I would love to be able to spend several years with them, and I feel like there's a wealth of things that could happen to them, and hopefully we'll get to do that.